Journalists, you cannot make friends with the rock stars.
Just make us look cool.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're here to talk about 2000's Almost Famous and its 4K Blu-ray. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, podcasts, and we do lists here on the channel, if you are a fan of all that, nothing helps this channel out more than by simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So I'm actually doing this review for my mom. She's a big fan of Almost Famous, and since she gave birth to me, I feel like I owe her that. So I am going to review this film and the 4K Blu-ray. It came out in 2000. It's directed by Cameron Crowe. It stars a murderer's row of big-time actors, including Philip Seymour Hoffman, Zooey Deschanel, Billy Crudup, Anna Paquin, Kate Hudson as Penny Lang in one of her best, if not her best role, Frances McDermott in a great role, Jason Lee, and then our lead is played by Patrick Fugit. I hope I'm saying that right. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong. He basically is taking the place of Cameron Crowe. This is almost an autobiographical film about his time growing up, working for Rolling Stone magazine. He was a teenage writer for them. And I could actually see this actor growing up to be Cameron Crowe. I could actually see that. They did get definitely the look right. I thought that he is the weakest of the performances in this movie, but he is taking the place of Cameron Crowe and us. We are navigating this world through him. This movie is following his journey from the time he's an adolescent, when he finds out that actually he's 2 years younger than he originally thought. His sister Zooey Deschanel decides that she's leaving home. She's 18 years old now. She wants to become a stewardess, get away from their overbearing teacher mother, who is this very educated woman, but yet she's overbearing like a religious woman, which I always thought was pretty fascinating about this movie, because they do have very similar qualities. You know, they don't like rock music, don't do drugs, you know, the whole deal, but hers is coming from an educated point of view, whereas a lot of people like that, especially back in the 1960s, it would be coming from a religious point of view. So I actually thought that was a nice little twist on that usual stereotypical angle that these movies kind of take. So she decides to leave home, but she leaves her brother her rock albums, and he falls in love with it, and he decides that this is what he wants to do. And one day, after meeting Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, he decides that this is what he's going to do. So he ends up getting lucky. He's going to be following this band Stillwater on the road, reporting on them. He even possibly could get the cover of Rolling Stone magazine if he plays his cards right. But then the movie just takes this magical turn. It becomes this very special movie where it just feels magical. It feels magnetic. We're following around this whole band on the road. Every character in this band is played perfectly. I mean, Jason Lee, this is probably his best performance, and I love Jason Lee in a lot of the Kevin Smith movies. I mean, a lot of people love him from My Name is Earl, but as the lead singer of Stillwater, he is perfect in this role. Everyone.
None of us love you. You act above us, you always have. I had to live with you, and now I might die with you, and it's not fucking fair. Please.
Everyone plays their roles really good. Billy Crudup as Russell Hammond is the lead of this band, and you know, we really are following his arc and how it works with Penny Lang's arc, played by Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson's role in this movie is perfect. She's playing this basically like mother of the hotel, mother of the groupies. Although they're not called groupies, they don't like that, but they're, you know, following the band around. They make like homes in the hotels, make everybody feel welcome, make it feel like a big family, like this one big party that's always going on after the shows. This is all stuff that Cameron Crowe said happened, and it's fascinating to see it all on screen. And then just little moments, like the moments where Penny Lang is spinning around in that empty ballroom and the music is playing. Music is a huge part of this movie. This is probably one of the greatest soundtracks ever put to film. Obviously, the most famous scene in this movie is when they're all on the tour bus singing, "Hold me closer, tiny dancer," which, by the way, that song took off again when this movie came out. That's how big that scene was when this movie first came out. But yet, this movie was technically a box office bomb. It had a really big budget of about $60 million. It didn't even make that back. It ended up becoming this big cult favorite film. But at the time, Cameron Crowe was really riding a high. Jerry Maguire was one of the biggest movies in the world at the time, so everyone thought that this was going to be another hit for Cameron Crowe, but it didn't turn out that way, which is unfortunate. But thankfully, this movie did get a resurrection, and a lot of people do love this movie, and rightfully so. It's told beautifully. It's well acted. What an amazing soundtrack. What an amazing story. This is definitely one you're going to want to check out if you haven't seen it. You even get a good Jimmy Fallon performance in this. Jimmy Fallon never really acted good. They tried. Have you ever seen Fever Pitch or Taxi? They were really trying to make him a star back in the early 2000s, but he actually does a really good job in this movie.
You effectively traveled a long way to pay that promoter to electrocute you.
And then the plane scene at the very end of this movie is perfect. That's actually my favorite scene in the movie, where everyone's just facing their deaths and you think, okay, now it's time to get everything I wanted to get off my chest. And I just love how that scene, I love it. I think it's probably the best scene in the movie. It's my favorite scene in the movie. Just everyone finally getting off their chest what they always wanted to say to each other. And then, of course, the plane doesn't go down. So just a great movie. If you haven't seen Almost Famous, definitely check it out. But we're also here today to talk about its 4K Blu-ray, and that's what we're going to do right now.
Looking on, she sings her song.
So Paramount put out this 4K Blu-ray originally in Steelbook back in 2021, and that's what I have right here. They also put out a slipcover version last year, back in February of 2022, and this movie has Dolby Vision HDR10. It's in the aspect ratio of 1.85. It doesn't feature a Dolby Atmos track, which is strange because with a movie like this that's so music heavy, a Dolby Atmos track would have killed in this movie. So I'm very surprised they didn't do that, but we did get a really solid DTS HD 5.1. It's not the greatest audio track I've ever heard, but it's really solid. You know, I really think that an Atmos track would have definitely elevated it, but everything was doing its job. Every speaker was definitely getting a bit of a workout. You know, the dialogue was crisp and clear. I have no complaints about it. I just felt like we could have got a little bit more that would have definitely pushed it over the top, especially for a movie that's very musically influenced. I think that would have been perfect, but unfortunately we did not get that here. So that's probably the biggest disappointment of the 4K is the audio track. But let's talk about the packaging real quick. Like I said, I did get the 4K Steelbook when it originally came out, and I really like it. You know, it's got Penny Lang, played by Kate Hudson, on the front cover. It looks like an old photo that's not fully developed. I like that. I really like the look of that. You go inside, you get some Steelwater pictures in there, and you get two 4K discs. Yes, those are both 4K discs, if you can believe that one. That's actually something that I really wanted to talk about because there are two cuts to this movie. On your first disc, you're going to get the first cut of the movie, the original cut, the theatrical cut, and then the second disc is going to be the bootleg cut or the untitled cut. That one adds about 39 minutes extra of the movie, and if I had a preference, I really do still prefer the theatrical cut. I think it's paced a little bit better than that bootleg cut. The bootleg cut, it has scenes that I guess could add to it. There's a scene that I think the best scene in there is like there's a scene like kind of by they're in a hotel and Penny Lang and Russell Hammond are talking, and that scene, it's good, and it helps to develop their relationship and their characters a little better, but I think it was cut for a good reason. And a lot of the scenes in there I do feel like were cut for a good reason. That's personal preference. Some people might prefer the actual director's cut of this movie, which is basically what it is, even if it's called the untitled or bootleg cut. I prefer the theatrical cut. I still think it moves along at a much better pace, but that's also going to come down to personal preference. Either way, it's still a great movie, whichever way you choose to watch it. Now, both of those discs in here do say special features on them, but all your special features are actually going to be on that first 4K Blu-ray disc. So if you're looking to see what your special features are, they're all on there, and there are a ton, which for Paramount, that's insane because Paramount never really concentrates on the extras, and they went all out for this. Not only do you get every extra that was previously released on that original bootleg cut when they released it, and actually when you click on it, it's under greatest hits, and you'll get like a little intro from Cameron Crowe talking over the menu, which I thought was pretty cool. And originally, you never see that in a 4K Blu-ray. So he's in there, and he's introduced. He's like, we wanted to give you guys as much as we possibly could. And I mean, there's everything on there. You get a making of documentary, you get some music videos, deleted scenes, and that's all stuff that was previously released. But then they also actually went out of their way and did an interview with Cameron Crowe. Now, they broke this up into little segments, little featurettes, so it's all not edited together, and you could have definitely edited it together into one big interview and a looking back documentary kind of thing on here, but I guess it probably looks better in bullet points, and maybe not everybody's into watching the whole thing in one shot. Me personally, I like it when they're all edited together. You can just hit play and just keep going, but we didn't get that here, but I'm still really cool with it. I really thought the interview was awesome every which way you want to watch it. It's a really good looking back. You get a lot of perspective. Cameron Crowe is a great interview, so it's really fun to watch his thoughts on the making of this movie. You know, again, this is an autobiographical film pretty much, and so it's him looking back on his own life, so it's really cool to hear him talk about that. So man, they really did go all out on the extras on this, so I have almost no complaints about that. And then the visuals, now again, two cuts, two 4K discs, both of them look almost perfect. Now there are some scenes where it's a little bit off compared to the rest of the movie. I noticed it really kind of in the first third of the movie, and then from there on out, maybe it's just because my eyes adjusted, it looked pretty much perfect. And yes, there are different scenes added to the bootleg cut of the movie. And if you think, okay, well, those scenes probably look worse, because we have seen that with like such movies like from Scream or Shout Factory, where they can't clean up that other footage. We don't have that problem here. Those 4K scenes that are added all look great on the untitled version, so don't worry about that. Whatever one you choose to watch, they both look perfect. You have no issues visually. You got Dolby Vision and HDR10. I compared them both. A minimal amount of film grain on both, but definitely enough that it still looks clear as day. They didn't wipe it clean. There is no DNR on here that I noticed that was actually making it look bad. Like I said, there are some scenes early in the movie where like the skin tones might look a little bit off. At least that's the way I noticed it. And I did check that on 2 TVs, but that's really about it. It's a minor complaint. Other than that, visually stunning. This is the best Almost Famous has ever looked. I have almost no complaints about this 4K Blu-ray other than the sense that I wish we would have gotten Adobe Atmos track, because I really do think that would have pushed it over the top and probably made this one of the better 4K Blu-rays out there, just because they did put so much effort into it. I don't like the practice of releasing it on a 4K Steelbook and then a year later releasing it with the slipcover version. I really do think that those should come out at the same time to give people the choice, but that's really just, you know, these major studios double dipping, trying to get your buck, and you know, that's just bad business practice. But I can't fault the disc for that, because the disc itself, the packaging here, the audio, it's all great. I love how much of an effort they put into the extras. Overall, if I was going to rate this film 4K out of a score of 10, I would still give this a really solid 9 out of 10. I can highly recommend it. If you're a fan of Almost Famous, this is the definitive way to watch it. Whichever cut of the movie you actually want to watch, you are going to be very happy that you did it. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining me here on another episode of Let's Talk. I really do appreciate all of your support. And if you want to keep supporting this channel, nothing supports the channel out more than you just by simply liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and then going out, maybe go to a rock show and tell all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.